I want to start with the issue of the day, what's happening at the border. The Biden administration has done a number of things. They've restricted asylum, barring migrants who appear at a port of entry without first having asked for refuge in a third country. If they try to enter without permission, they face a 5-year ban. They've increased deportation flights, and they plan to open processing centers in Latin America. Do you support any of that?
I'm just surprised it took them so long. You know, you look at the fact that it wasn't broken to start with. They broke it. 5 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border. I went with Congressman Gonzalez 400 miles along that border, and what I saw was unbelievable. You have ranchers that get up and get their coffee in the morning and go see if someone died crossing the fence. They pick up any little kids left over and take them to Border Patrol. When you talk to sheriffs say before 7 a.m. they've rounded up illegal immigrants, turn them over to Border Patrol, who documents them and then releases them until their court date 3 or 4 years from now. You ask Border Patrol what they do, and they said, we're glorified babysitters. We need to let them do their job. We've got to enforce some things, and we should do what I did when I was governor, which is pass one of the toughest immigration laws in the country and do a mandatory E-Verify program that says no businesses can hire anyone that's in this country illegally.
Okay, just for context, there is a global migration crisis, as you know. But for decades, Congress has failed to enact any kind of significant immigration reform, including during the Trump administration when there was unified Republican control. How different would it be? Why would it be any different if you were in charge?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, this is a crisis created by Republicans and Democrats. This very much should have been dealt with a long time ago, and it wasn't. What I would do is, first of all, do the mandatory E-Verify. I would defund sanctuary cities. I would go back to remain in Mexico because no one wants to remain in Mexico. I would fire the 87,000 IRS agents that are going after Middle America and put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground. And instead of catch and release, let's go to catch and deport. We have to be serious about the fact that we are a country of laws. And the second we stop being a country of laws, we give up everything this country was founded on.
But as you know, deportation is problematic to countries where the U.S. has strained relations, like Venezuela and Cuba. So even if you catch, you can't necessarily deport. So for Cuba and Venezuela, would you keep those Trump-era sanctions on those countries which are already economically distressed? And some would say the sanctions make it even worse, sending migrants here.
We always want to take care of people who have been persecuted, but we've got to take care of Americans first. We've got to start looking at the fact that every state's a border state, that we've had enough fentanyl cross the border that would kill every single American. The #1 cause of death for adults 18 to 49 is fentanyl. Why don't we focus on that first? We can't take care of anybody else if we can't take care of ourselves.
So you would keep the sanctions on those countries, is what I hear.
I think we need to stop the bleeding of the border and completely do immigration reform before we can think of taking anybody else into this country.
How would you change America's asylum policies? Because many of those people coming to these ports of entries are doing it legally. They are asking for protection.
Well, I think there's legal immigration that we can focus on at the same time. And I think that needs to be focused on what does our country need? Let's do it by merit. Let's do it by talent. Let's do it based on what the businesses need. But let's not do it just because people happen to cross the fence and get away. Let's not do it because we have crowded facilities and we can't hold anymore. That's the wrong way to go about it. We have to make sure this is a national security issue. We have to vet them. We have to know exactly who's coming in here. Iran has said that the easiest way to get into America is through the southern border. We shouldn't wait for another 9/11 to realize that Republicans and Democrats have to get in a room and figure out immigration reform and start working for the American people instead of the other way around.
Would you revive President Trump's policy of separating migrant children from their parents as deterrents?
It should never get to that point. No, we should not be separating families, but we shouldn't be taking families that we don't have any control over. That's the biggest issue. Is no one wants to be inhumane about this. I saw when I was at the United Nations what happens to these people who are trafficked. I mean, if a child loses a shoe, they just leave the child there. If a person gets sick, they leave them to die. So we shouldn't be waving the green flag in the first place. This started when Biden took office and said America is open. We never should have had that happen.
Well, migration